Alright, we're live now. I'll turn on the recording once anybody comes in the class. Alright?
Okay, sounds good.
Alright, you're the host now. And can you make me co host, please?
Yep, already done.
Thank you.
Hey, Tina. Welcome to the show. There's Hank coming in. Good afternoon, Hank.
Here.
Good to see you.
To be here. Shows I remembered.
Yeah, everybody's staying around late today. Appreciate it. It's late for me. Oh, there's Carol. Hey, Carol.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. Good to see you. There you are. All right, good. We're going to have a fairly small class tonight, but this is not a bad topic to have a small class because a lot to go over and lots of questions typically. So this way you get all your questions answered. We got to it. Several more people should be joining us. So we're going to hang out another minute and then I'll start getting everything set up. I'm going to do a couple of things while we're waiting. Everybody's had a good day so far.
Yeah.
Carol says so. It's been a long day. I started at 8 o'clock this morning. I had to take the car to the shop, and then this is my fourth class, so
Okay.
I'll try not to doze off on you.
I did notice one thing. I was reading the little, I guess, class setup policy and policies and all that stuff, and it says to try to get to class 5 minutes before the class starts. And I found that almost impossible to do. So the launch button doesn't activate itself until right at the class time.
Yeah, you can't get into the class until the appointed hour.
Right.
You can be in the waiting room, but yeah, 5 minutes is probably a little bit much.
Yeah.
Because we usually allow 5 minutes after the start to give people a chance to get here. So
Okay.
that's kind of in fact, we are 3 minutes in, and at 3 minutes in, I start getting things set up, but we're going to give people another couple of minutes to get here. But while we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get my technology up and running. So I've got that, and then I'll move your pictures over to the other screen where I can see everybody over here. And let me do this. Okay, so we got a small group tonight, so I'm going to leave the everyone unmuted. But if we do start picking up any background noise or anything, we will have to mute. So again, as always, just remember to check and see if your mic is muted before you ask a question or make a comment. And hopefully you'll have lots of questions and comments on this one. This is a fairly high discussion type of a class. And I've got the chat open now. So if you have trouble with your microphone, or you just need to get to us via the chat, that is now available. And Anthony from our TA group is here with us to help monitor the chat and manage the class. Thanks for joining us, Anthony, and helping out. Always appreciate your help. Let's see. Let's see. I'm going to get your name right. Mayorta, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And Theodore, can you hear us?
Hello.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us as well.
Thank you.
All right. So let's see. So we are 5 minutes in. So that usually is the start point of the actual class. So let's. So I was mentioning I did have the chat open. So if anyone is having mic problems or just needs to get to us through the chat, you can do that. But if your microphone is working, please do just go ahead and ask your questions out loud. That way everyone else can hear your questions and I will hear them on a timely basis as well. So with that, we are ready to get started. So this is Introduction to Smart Homes. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoy the class. My name is Wade Yarbrough, and I'll be the guide for the class today. A little about my background. I from a small town called Mason, Tennessee, just outside of Memphis, Tennessee. And I have a degree in psychology, experimental psychology. I'm a pigeon person. Did operant conditioning. If anybody remembers B.F. Skinner from your intro psych, was the type of work I did. I actually met Dr. Skinner, which was a high point of my career. So that was fun. But I spent most of my work life designing, installing, and training users on how to use hospital information systems. So I've done a lot of adult training, but what I love about teaching here is I get to teach people that are in the class because you're interested in the class, not because you were told to attend the class, which is what we do try to accomplish here, is to set up classes that you want to learn and let you learn along with other people in the class that have similar interests that you have. And you can all interact with the guide. So we like to make it a very interactive type of an environment. All right. The session is being recorded, and any participant can request a copy of that recording. Just send an email to help@getsetup.io. And Anthony has put that in the chat. If you don't have that already in your email contacts, you can copy and paste it out of the chat. We're also live streaming the class today. So I do want to welcome anyone joining us via live stream. Thanks for joining and hope you enjoy the class as well. But I do want to stress that the only way you can get that full experience of interacting with the other learners and asking questions of the guide is to go to our website and register for the class. And finally, Get Set Up is not paid to promote any of the products that we train on. So today the agenda is that by the end of the class, you'll know what smart homes are and why people want a smart home. You'll understand the steps involved in creating a smart home. And we'll spend a good bit of time talking about the various smart home devices. There are a lot of them, so kind of give you a little show and tell in terms of things that you might want to include in your smart home. So let's start with what is a smart home? Seems like a good place to start. So a smart home is a residence equipped with smart devices that are all connected via a wireless network. And smart devices are your typical home devices, but what makes them different, what makes them smart, is that they can remotely be controlled. There's 3 ways really to do that. You can use your smartphone to control the smart devices. You can use your voice via a device like an Alexa. And I've got her turned off so she doesn't talk to me. And you can also set it up to use triggers, such as a timer expiring, a motion detector detecting activity. Other smart home devices can trigger them. So lots of different ways to trigger these smart devices. And so why do people want a smart home? You can certainly save some money, because if you use smart thermostats, lights, and plugs, you can turn off lights and appliances that you're not using so that you can save energy and money as well. It makes your life more simple. You can automatically do things that you used to have to perform manually. There are certainly some security and safety aspects as well. You know, turning lights on and off, managing locks, having cameras, all can make your home safer for you. So that is a part of it. A lot of the things that we used to install security systems for, you can now do with a smart home. And probably the biggest reason most people are doing it is because it's fun. I mean, most people doing smart homes like to play with technology and enjoy plugging the things in and playing with them. So that's probably the biggest factor for most people. So this is a kind of a diagram of what a smart home looks sort of like, and I'm going to use it to describe some of the components and give you an idea of what the smart home ecosystem looks like. And the ecosystem is all the different component parts of the smart home. So you got the smart devices here, things like your cameras, your lights, plugs. There's two control components. One is your apps on your phone. So that is one way we talked about that you can control all these smart devices. And the other is by using a smart speaker as a hub. So that's how you can use your voice to just tell the lights to come on via that smart speaker. And everything is connected through a wireless network. So that's how the communication goes. And you can see in most cases, the devices not only talk to the control parts, but they often talk to each other. So you can have the devices talking to each other as well. So it really is a web type of a network. And the networking gets fairly complex. I'm going to include a link to an article that talks about the different types of networking and how that works for anybody that wants to get a little deeper in the weeds around the networking part of it. But we're going to keep it kind of high level. But any questions about the basic ecosystem of how these things work? Okay, if not, we'll keep going here. But as always, if you have questions or I cover something too quickly, please just unmute and say, we'll go over that again.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry. For those particular items, would a singular app control all of them or just maybe one or two of them at a time?
That's a very good question because in most cases, it's based on the manufacturer. So if all three of these lights were made by Philips, then you would have one app that would control all those lights. But if I had, two lights by one manufacturer and two more by another one and a third one by another one, I might have three apps on my phone, one for each manufacturer.
Okay, thanks.
And that's kind of what the hub does. It kind of brings all that together. So even though I've got three apps on my phone, and if I want to do it purely with my phone, I need this hub. And the hub also talks to my phone, and I'll kind of show you how these pieces work a little bit where it'll make more sense.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's the component part. Most of these, and originally the early smart homes didn't have this smart hub. You did everything with your phone. So this phone was how you controlled your house. This was sort of the next big step in the evolution of smart homes, was being able to use your voice and have this hub that pulled everything together, including all the apps on your phone. Good question. So we'll go through the 4 steps that you typically would go through to create a smart home. And the first step is to select your ecosystem supplier. And there's more than 3, but most people now choose one of these 3: Amazon, Google, and Apple. Like I said, there are other choices out there, and especially for novices, these are typically the best choices. And we'll get into how the bits and pieces work, but you basically have to select an ecosystem and stick with it. So you really can't have some things being controlled by Google and some by Apple and some by Amazon, and you have to have one ecosystem supplier.
Fuck this class, I'm out. You're boring. You suck.
I personally can't believe he didn't point out that you look like Colonel Sanders.
We've
Get a couple people out of here.
I got one out already.
All right.
And I apologize for this. We've had some cases of people doing this, and we've got it fixed now so we can get them out when they open their mouths. So I apologize for that happened, but
That's not your fault.
yeah, there are some people that have more time than they have. Well, I won't say
You know
anything.
what? I know what you
Again,
mean.
I apologize for that. Okay. All right. So the ecosystem you select, and let's see. Okay, I was on this slide. And the consideration is selecting your ecosystem vendor.
I think we still got one on here.
Yeah. So Anthony, can you tell who that is?
Yeah, it's Mayorta, whatever it is. There we go.
All right. So one thing that helps you pick which one of the ecosystems you want to use is familiarity with the vendor. So if you already have an Amazon Alexa, it's a good choice to go with Amazon. If you have Google products already in place, you may want to go with Google, or if you're an all-in Apple person, you've got an iPhone, you've got 2 iPads, you've got a Mac, you'd probably want to go with Apple. So most people pick one that they already are familiar with, but the other consideration is your smart device selection. Amazon tends to have the most devices available. So if you're looking at things like smart doorbells, you'll have more to choose from if you use the Amazon system. Google is typically second and Apple is third, but there's plenty of devices that will work with any one of the three. So that's not a big factor, but those are the two biggest factors people look at. And we'll go over some of this as we start looking at the devices. Okay, the next step is to pick your smart hub. And the smart hub is this piece that I was talking about, which is the control hub. And it is typically a smart speaker. And so if you're familiar with the smart speakers, it's something you can talk to and it can respond back to you. For Amazon, it's the Echo family. For Google, it's the Nest family. And for Apple, it's the HomePods. And we're going to look at some of those in just a minute. You can have more than one within the family. So you can have 3 Echoes, 4 Echoes. They'll all work together. Again, you can't mix and match a Google Nest with an Amazon Echo. That's picking your ecosystem and staying within that family. What a lot of people are doing now is using what's called a smart display. And it's really a combination of a smart speaker with a display. And so let's go look at a few of these to give you a little bit better idea of what these things look like. So these are smart speakers. This is the Amazon selection. We'll look at all 3 of the ecosystems. So here you can talk to the system through Alexa, and she can respond back through these smart speakers. Here's the smart display. So in this one I like because it looks like what it is. It's a smart speaker that has a tablet attached to it. So you can not only talk to it and it can answer you by voice, but it can also show you things. One of the best examples, if you have a smart doorbell and someone goes to the door, you could say, Alexa, show me who's at the door, and it'll put the picture on your smart display of who's at the door. There are different versions. This one is a small one that's not much bigger than a smartphone, but that works as well. And then up to the larger one here. Let me, oops, don't want to do that. Come right here. Let's go back and look at some of the others. So with Google, it works very similarly. So this is the Google supply. So here's again a smart speaker. Here's the display. So Google Nest Audio, this is the equivalent of the Echo in the Amazon product line. They got the mini Nest for the smaller ones. Let me click over a little bit. Yeah, here's the Nest Mini, which is about the same size as the Echo. And with Google, you say, hey, Google, instead of saying Alexa, but works the same way. It's a voice controlled system. And then Apple is the HomePod. And here's the HomePod Mini, which again is equivalent to the Echo or the Nest Mini. A little more expensive, but a lot of people think the Apple has a higher quality, and it's worth the extra. Here's the larger speaker for $300. With Apple, most people, if they want the display, they use an iPad. A lot of people will take an old iPad that they've got, they've got a newer version they use for most of their stuff, but it's perfectly acceptable to run your smart home. So an old iPad works great for the display part. So questions about that hub? All right, so I'm going to keep going through this. Oh, good.
How
Great.
much do the other ones run, like the Echo and the whatever?
For the Amazon, so the cheapest Echo is $50, so about the same as the Nest. Amazon does run specials, and again, you can start a show as cheap as, and they are running a special on these. It's usually 90. They're selling it for 69. This larger one is $249. Of course, you get much better sound quality with the big one. So if you're playing music, you might want the bigger one. If you've got if you got an Echo Studio, which is a high fidelity smart speaker, $200, you would play your music on this one and maybe get a small show, just so you can see who's at the front door if you've got a smart doorbell. So you can kind of mix and match however you want to work them.
So you're right. I'm getting confused. Are these the hubs or the thingies that connect on the hub?
This is the hub. Let's go back to that picture. I should have copied it down, but that's the hub here. So it controls all the different devices. So you can talk to the hub, whether it's Amazon, Google, or Apple, and say, turn on the lights, show me the camera, turn on the plug,
But you're
open the
saying
door.
the hub also can play music?
Yep.
And that's why you want a better quality one?
If you want to play the music, yeah. So it is an Alexa device. I don't know if you're familiar with Alexa, but yeah, so you can just say play music. And in that case, you're just working with the one device. So all of them do include, so these do music, but these all have speakers and will play music as well as with the Google. Yeah. Again, you get better quality with this speaker than you do with this one, but they all will play, and they sound pretty good.
Okay. Do these run off your home Wi-Fi?
They do.
Okay.
Now, there's some other networks that some of them use. We'll get into that a little bit when we get into the devices. So in some cases, like with the lights, it may have a mini hub. So you may have a hub that Philips supplies if you're using Philips lights. Okay. And so in this case, the lights talk to the mini hub and the mini hub talks to your true hub. So then you got multiple networks, and they may not be Wi-Fi. There's 3 other networks that are used in smart homes. You got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth that everybody's familiar with, and there's 2 others that are not as well known. That's where that other article that I'm going to have a link to gets into if you're really into the electronics. But more and more, they're going to Bluetooth and Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Now, the earlier ones, they use the others more. Okay, so let's keep going. So the next step 3 is to start getting your smart devices. And we're going to spend a lot of time at the end of the class going over the different ones just to kind of whet your appetite again. Common ones to start with are lights and light switches, plugs and power strips, just because they're inexpensive and they're very versatile. Smart cameras are probably the next most common thing that people use. And then you kind of evolve from there into smart doorbells, smart door locks, smart thermostats, smart garage door openers, lots of other things along the way. And I'll show you examples of a lot of those. But the big however here, you have to make sure your choice works with your smart home ecosystem. So if you're going with Amazon, you got to make sure the doorbell you buy works with Amazon. If you're going with Google, you got to make sure it works with Google. If you're going with Apple, you got to make sure it works with Apple. And I'll show you how you can check with each device and see which ecosystem it works with. Some work with all 3, some will work with 2 of the 3, some will only work with 1, but there's, again, plenty of choices. And most people start slow and build. I mean, if you want to go all at once, you could go out and buy all the devices and install everything at once, but most people like to kind of build it slow and gradual. So the last step, and I like to say this is where the magic happens. That's when you start to make all of the different smart devices work together. That's what the hub does. It can talk to everything out there, so it can control that. And there's two ways you do that. One is by grouping devices together. So for example, I have 3 different lights in my kitchen. I can control each light individually by its name, but I can also group them in a group called kitchen. And I can say, Alexa, turn on the kitchen lights, and she'll turn on all 3 of those lights. Yeah. So that's how grouping works. And then routines and scenarios, and some of the ecosystems call them routines, some call them scenarios. They're the same thing. It's how you can create a flow of commands. So there is a trigger event, like opening the garage door. So when the garage door opens, it then unlocks the house door, which then turns on the foyer and living room lights, which then turns up the heat, and then it starts playing your favorite music. So one event triggers a cascade of steps, and you create those with your routines and scenarios. Questions so far?
I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself here, but if I have I see the light bulbs and stuff like that, and the plugs that you can plug in the wall. But what if you have something that doesn't have a plug, or something like got a ceiling fan here that directly wired to my, I guess, the outlet box. But how would I get something to turn that on and off, or change the speeds?
Yeah, if the device is already installed and it's not a smart device, I mean, some things you can use the switches, so you can just plug it into a smart switch and use that to turn it off. There are smart ceiling fans now that have the wireless built into it. Other than that, you might be able to do it with a smart switch on the wall. So there's a switch on the wall that controls the fan. I haven't seen one just for ceiling fans, but this stuff is growing so fast now. I would bet that there's one out there. Okay. You'd have to replace the switch on the wall that controls the fan now with a smart switch.
Yeah, I don't have a switch on the wall.
Okay, so you may have to wait until you can switch out the fan and buy a smart fan.
Okay, all right. Yeah. But same with lights. I've got pocket lights in the kitchen or embedded in the ceiling that they do have a switch that I can use.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
And hold that thought, because we're going to go over those in just a minute.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so we're going to get into some of those, and I've got some better pictures and examples that'll make it easier than trying to just explain it.
Okay, good.
Let me do one other thing, because I do want to allow plenty of time to go through the devices. That's the fun part. But I'm going to quickly show you how those groups and the routines work, just to kind of give you another example of how those work. I've got a fairly small but growing smart home. I'm using Amazon, so I'm going to go to my Amazon app. And down at the bottom, it has devices. So this is where I can see all the devices that are in my smart home. So when I click that, I can see that I've got these Echo speakers. I've got some lights, I've got some plugs, and I got some cameras. If I want to see the lights that I have, I can click here. And this shows me the lights. I've got 4 lights right now. And I've got them into 2 groups. So I was mentioning that I have a kitchen group with 3 lights in it. I can turn each light on individually from my phone. I can turn on the whole group from my phone, or I could turn on everything in the house from here. So you can control it from your phone. I could also just say, Alexa, turn on the bedroom light, and she would turn it on. Or I could say, Alexa, turn on in fact, my wife's not here. I don't want to do this and freak her out, but let me just. Alexa, turn on the kitchen lights.
Okay.
Let me go back. And the kitchen lights are now on.
Okay.
So that's how the groups work. Now I could add things other than lights. I could put a switch in, a plug in there, and connect the coffee pot to the plug. And I could say, or in the kitchen, that's probably where the coffee pot would be instead of the bedroom. And you could put them all into a group and say, turn on the kitchen appliances, and it would turn on all 3 lights and turn on my coffee pot or any other things I wanted to plug into it. That you control all at the same time. You can use that same concept with the speakers. I don't care what's about the speakers. If you got a 2-story house and you got 2 smart speakers upstairs and 2 smart speakers downstairs, you can say, Alexa, play James Taylor upstairs, and it'll play on the 2 upstairs speakers, but not on the 2 downstairs one. Or you could say, play James Taylor in the whole house. It would play on all 4 speakers. So lots of things you can do to control what's going on. Let me show you a couple of quick routines, and then we'll get into looking at the devices. Sunset lights is one. It's a simple one, but I'm going to click into that. So these are the routines that I've got. And what this one, and the way you set these up, pretty straightforward. You give it a name, but then you say, what is the trigger event? In this case, the trigger event is at sunset. So Alexa knows when sunset is on each day of the year. So when that time hits, it performs the action of turn on all the lights at 31% brightness. So that way, if I'm gone and I'm getting home later than I thought, I never come home to a dark house. My lights are always on, but I'm saving energy. They're only on at 31%. When I come in the door, I can say, Alexa, raise the lights to 100%, and she'll move them all up to 100% brightness. So that's a trigger that's not your voice. Typically, the trigger is your voice, but you can use things like time of day, events like sunset, sunrise, when things happen. If you have an alarm set in the morning to wake up, you can have that be the trigger. When you turn your alarm off, it turns on the lights in the kitchen and starts the coffee pot. Let's see. Another one, let's see, where's good night? This one is activated by voice. So in this case, when you say, Alexa, good night, Alexa will turn off the heater in the sunroom, turn off the heater in the office, turn off the kitchen lights, and say good night, and then start playing sleep sounds so I can go to sleep. So that whole cascade of events is triggered by just saying, Alexa, good night. Everybody kind of get an idea how those work?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, let's go to the devices. This is kind of the most fun part, I think. And let's talk through some of them and show you some examples, and also show you how you can check and make sure they're going to work with your ecosystem. Smart lights is where most people start because they're very simple. You can turn lights on and off. As I showed you in the examples, you can dim them. You can group them. I'll show you a fairly popular one, the Philips Hues. I'm going to start with just this Philips Hue white bulb 4-pack. This is what I bought, in fact, what I've got. And I'm going to go to Best Buy. I like Best Buy because they do a good job of telling you what ecosystems they work with. So this is a 4-pack of bulbs. They are LED light bulbs. So 4 LED light bulbs would cost you pretty close to $49 by themselves. These have a Bluetooth radio transmitter as part of them. So I would just go down and check compatibility. These work with Amazon Alexa and with Google Assistant. They don't work with Apple. So that's how you can check compatibility. But let's say I'm using Apple and I really want those Philips Hue lights. This is where I was talking about the little mini hubs, I call them, like this. You can buy a starter kit. And that little hub cost me $50, and I got $50 for the 4 bulbs. So I get 4 bulbs, but I get this little mini hub. So what happens is that the lights talk to the mini hub, and then the mini hub talks to your smart speaker or your show device. And when I go with this version, if I go down and check compatibility, it now works with HomePod, because Apple can talk to the mini hub. Apple can't talk to the individual light bulbs yet. Pretty soon it probably will, and you won't even need that little hub. So that's where I was saying sometimes you've got several steps. You go from the light bulb to the hub, from the hub to your HomePod or your Alexa speaker or your Google speaker, and then into the system. Is that making sense? Light switches, we already mentioned those, but you can actually have a smart light switch. One of the advantages of a light switch, if I've got a switch that controls 4 or 5 light bulbs, I can just have one smart switch instead of buying 4 light bulbs. That's a cheaper way to go. I can get a light switch for $15 instead of getting 4 light bulbs for $50. Now you are going to, unless you're handy yourself, you are going to need to hire an electrician to wire this, because you have to wire it into your house circuit electrical system. So that may eat up your savings, but that is another alternative. And one consideration with any smart home device is that what happens if your Wi-Fi is down? And you'll notice these still have the old rocker plate, so it still works like a regular light switch. If your Wi-Fi is down, if your Wi-Fi is up, you leave it in the on position and your smart home turns it off and on. If your Wi-Fi is down, then you can turn it off and on with the switch. And again, this is about $15, and I want to get everybody used to doing this. Check compatibility. This works with Amazon, and Google doesn't work with Apple. So that's kind of what I was saying early on. Yeah, more things tend to work with Amazon and Google, but there's plenty that work with Apple. If I have an Apple system, I would probably search for smart lights, Apple. And so it only shows me the ones that work with Apple. So I don't want to give the impression that you can't find stuff. It's just not quite as big of a selection. Smart plugs are the other great way to get started because it just plugs into your electrical outlet. Here's the on-off switch. So it does have an on-off switch. So if the power's out, you can turn it on and off from here. But you can plug it into the wall. Then you can plug anything into it. A light, a heater is what I was using it for in the wintertime. Any kind of device, a lamp, you can plug into here. So they're very versatile is one of the nice things about these. 2 ways to do it. You can get just a switch like this, or you can actually get a power strip. Let's look at one of each. So this is a Wemo. That's a very popular manufacturer of smart devices. It's $25, so fairly inexpensive. And let's check. And sometimes Best Buy doesn't have that compatibility, but if it doesn't, if you look in specifications, it will tell you. And here it works with Amazon, Apple, and Google. So it works with any of the 3 ecosystems we've been looking at. Now the power strip is nice, especially if you got several things close to each other that you want to control, because it has 3 regular plugs plus 3 USB plugs, and you can control them separately. So you can actually control what's plugged into this device separately from the other 2. So they're really versatile and inexpensive. $20 really will control 6 devices. And let's check this one real quick. Where am I at Amazon? I'm at Amazon. So Amazon, you have to look in the description. And I think it tells me here. I thought it worked with Alexa and Google, but it looks like maybe it just works with Alexa. Oh, here it is. Works with Alexa and Google. So with Amazon, you have to search for that compatibility a little more than you do with Best Buy, but it's in there. You just have to look around. All right. Again, if you have questions about any of these, please ask, but we got a lot more to show you, so I'm going to keep going. Security cameras are kind of the next level that a lot of people go to, just for that reason. If you've got that security piece, most of them detect motion or sound. Early cameras were just cameras. Now most of them do have microphones associated with them, and they will notify you when it happens. They'll typically record for a designated amount of time after it detects something. Most also have a 24/7 continuous recording option, and they can record that into the cloud, so you can keep it for record for a long time. You have to pay for the cloud storage. Typically, it's usually not very much, but if you do want to just record continuously, especially if you're gone, if you're be gone for a week, you may want to record continuously. And you can view on your virtual display or on your phone what is being seen by the camera. So look at a couple of these. There's a lot of price variances in the cameras. This is kind of the low end, so 27 bucks is very inexpensive. A couple of things to look at and think about is whether they're wired or wired. I mean, they all work with the wireless network, but do you have to have an electrical plug, or do they have battery operated? So some of them are battery operated. Some of them you have to plug them in. This one, I think you have to plug it in, but that's one consideration. And I'm not going to do this every time. I think you're getting the idea. Works with Amazon and Google. And then here, so that one was what did I say, 27? Nest Cam is kind of the top of the line. It's $129, but it does a lot more than the other one. So that's kind of where I'm saying you have to do some homework to see what features you want, which ones have those features, which ones don't. And this one, obviously, since it's Nest is going to work with Google, it also works with Amazon. You also need to make sure whether it's indoor, outdoor, or both. These were both indoor only. I made the mistake of buying a couple of indoor rated cameras and putting one of them outside. It lasted about 3 months before it died. If you're going to put them outside, you do need to have an outdoor rated camera. The next one that is getting really popular, that's on my next to buy list, is a smart doorbell. Because they do so much. You can see who's at the door from your phone or from your smart video. You can stream 24/7, so you can continuously monitor what's going on. So if your neighbor steals your Amazon package from your front porch, you can see that because you're streaming 24/7. Some of the higher end ones actually have face recognition built into it, so you can take pictures and have it recognize people. So if your friend Bob walks up to the house, Alexa will announce Bob's at the door, because it'll recognize the person from their face as they walk up to the door. You can also use that for security purposes. If you have a cleaning service, you can have the face recognition. So when they come up to the house, they'll let you know cleaning service is here. They also all have microphones as well. So you can talk to and speakers, so you can talk to the person that's out there. They can talk to you. So smart doorbells are great. Oops. Arlo is one of the more, and again, these you need to look at whether they're wired or battery operated. If they're wired, you've got to plug it in to your wiring. Now, this isn't 110 voltage, it's low voltage, so it's not as risky if you want to do it yourself, but some of them are battery operated, rechargeable batteries. I think this one may be battery operated. $229 is about what they run. They're a little more expensive, but you get a lot for them. Arlo is another very popular one, and that's $149. What some people do, and it's usually a little less expensive, and if they can't spring for the smart doorbell, is to get an outdoor camera. I kind of mentioned outdoor cameras already. You can put them anywhere because they're outdoor rated. They have motion detection. Most of them also still have microphones and speakers, so you can hear and talk to people. So it can function like a doorbell. You can see who's at the door, talk to them, and say, "What do you want?" Blink is one of the popular ones, and it's $99, so a little less expensive than a doorbell. Plus, you can move it different places. This is battery operated, so you can have it at the front door for a while. If you need to go out back, or something's been banging around in the backyard at night, and you want to see what it is, you can unplug it or unhook it, take it around back, and use it out back, and then bring it back to your front porch. Those sorts of things. We'll get to this one. We're gonna have time for a few questions here. We're just about done, but this is the other really popular one, is a smart door lock, and it works great with a smart doorbell. With the smart door lock, you can lock and unlock the door from anywhere using your phone or your voice. So if the smart doorbell says Bob's at the door, you can unlock the door from your chair without having to get up and go to the door. What I like about the door locks is that, I don't know about you, I don't know how many times I've left and I thought, did I lock the front door? And I would drive back home to check to see if I'd locked the door or not. With a smart door, if you're 6 blocks down, you can just pull over, get your phone. Just like I showed you, I could see if the lights are on or off with my phone. You can check and see if the door is locked. If it's not, you can lock it from your phone and then keep going and know your door is locked. Most of them will detect if the door is open. So if the door is open for more than X minutes, it will alert you. So maybe you didn't close your door all the way and the wind blew it open while you're gone. It'll set off alarm letting you know the front door is open. A lot of them will also automatically lock the door when you leave without you having to do anything. That's the auto lock. So lots of cool things about these. August is, I think, without a doubt, the most popular one. There are a number of other ones. $195. It's actually typically $250. It's on sale. I want to show you how these work. And let's go to this picture. Oops. So you don't have to replace the entire lock. It just fits over the door, and it has a little motor in there that turns the knob. So you don't have to replace anything. Plus, your existing key still works. So again, if the power is off and you can't use your Wi-Fi to open the door, you can just use your regular lock and open the door that way. So it looks like that. It doesn't have a picture of the inside, I don't think. Again, another picture from the inside. So any lock that has a bolt that you can turn with your hands, it will turn that for you. Yeah, this is the last one. We'll take a few questions if you have questions about any of these in terms of how this is working. But smart garage door openers, I mentioned that one, I think, already. But those are really nice and some variances in how they work. But a lot of them will recognize the Bluetooth in your car. So if you have Bluetooth in your car, it pairs with the Bluetooth. So when you drive up, it automatically opens your door. You don't have to touch anything or say anything. It just opens your door. Same thing when you leave, it recognizes that the Bluetooth is no longer there. It knows you've left, so it automatically closes the door. And this is another one. I've driven back by my house 100 times thinking, did I close the garage door? So I drive back and drive by to see if the garage door is closed. If I can't remember if I closed the door, pull over, get your phone. It'll tell you if your garage door is closed or not. If it's not closed, you can close it remotely from wherever you're sitting with your phone. And there's a couple of these. These are reasonably inexpensive. This one's $60. It's a Tailwind. And one is made by Chamberlain, which is one of the most popular garage door openers. I think that one's even less expensive, 20 bucks. So got time for a few questions. Questions about any of the appliances or anything else?
Hi. I have several Nest cameras for monitoring my house. There's about like 3 Nest cameras.
Okay.
And then a few, 2 Amazon Echo shows. But then all my computers, phones, iPads, everything, that's Apple. I'm just wondering what might be a next step.
We check.
And the Alexa is, the Amazon Echo Show is really to play music and sometimes to connect to other people in the family who have an Amazon Echo Show.
Yeah,
but
you
we
said you
can
got the
also-
Nest cameras?
Yes, and they
Yeah.
work, it's like you said, they work very well.
Yeah, and most, I think they work with Amazon. You'd have to check the specific camera you've got, but it sounds like you could go with these since you've already got Alexa. You could use Alexa for your hub and then just connect your cameras to your Alexa network, and you should be in pretty good shape without having to buy anything else.
And then what would be the additional function by doing that? Because right now the Nest cameras are just on all the time.
You can, and you probably have do you have a Nest app on your phone? So
Yes,
if
I
you're-
do. Yes,
Yeah.
on my phone and my iPad and my MacBook.
Yeah, you're not going to get a ton of extra functionality if that's all you have is the Nest cameras. Because if you did connect it, then you could from your Alexa app on your phone, you could have it display what's on the camera to your phone. But if you've got the Nest app already, you can still get it on your phone. If you got the Alexa Show, that's one thing you would get by adding it to Alexa. You could see on your show what's going on with your Nest camera.
Okay.
So really the big choice would come when you start to decide to add some switches and lights and other things to your system.
I guess the other thing that I thought I might get, I also, this is low tech, but I have motion detector lights in various places, like especially the basement, so that I don't have to keep turning the lights on and off. Those are amazing. They're just like $8 for a motion detector light, just, low tech, but
Oh yeah.
just very useful. If I guess then my next step was I was thinking about a video doorbell, because we get a lot of packages, and the way my front door is, you can't always see who is there, because they may not be standing right in front of the door. People stand to the side or whatever, and but I wasn't, and I don't really have an electric outlet where I could, I'd have to hire an electrician or something. But I'm curious how those video doorbells work with the battery. What
there
is
are some
the
battery operated ones, and that's really what they're for, is if you either don't want to wire them or you want to keep your existing doorbell, but have that one as well. So that's the advantage of those. Now you're going to have to charge them periodically. And I think you just would remove it from the wall and take it in and plug it in, or if you got an electrical outlet close by outside, you could plug it in place. So they are rechargeable batteries that you'd have to recharge, but that saves you having to play with the wiring.
And would it make more sense, given that I have the Amazon Echo shows and the Nest cameras, and you're suggesting, if I want, I could get an Alexa hub. What kind of video doorbell would I get? The Ring, or which one would be
Just whichever one you get, just check it to make sure that it works with the, if you're going to go with the Amazon, that it works with Amazon ecosystem.
Okay.
Let me go back up. So for instance, because even the Google, I think most of these work with this. I didn't show you this one. This is a new one I just found that's really inexpensive. It's only $80.
Oh,
And I think it is, I can't see if it's wireless or not. Stop. And this is on Amazon, so you have to hunt a little bit more to find the compatibility. But I'm pretty sure it works with both Amazon and Google. I know it works with Amazon because I was thinking about buying one of these myself, so I'd already checked it out.
so these, just to clarify, these doorbells, the video is running just when someone rings the doorbell?
Nope, it runs 24. It runs 24/7. If you want to record it 24/7, you've got to have a way to store that somewhere, and it'll store it in the cloud. And so here's a subscription for free video storage. Now, sometimes you can store it on the device itself, and that's what this micro SD card slot means. You can put a little disk into the device and it'll store it on there. When the disk gets full, you can either take that one out and put in a different one or erase it and start over. And most of them will let you also store it in the cloud, but you typically have to pay for that. But it does have the two-way talk and head-to-toe visibility. I don't know why I can't see the compatibility. That's one thing. I'm going to look for it at Best Buy. They do a better job of telling you everything it works with. But I think it works with Amazon and Google, but I'm 98% sure it works with Amazon. So you have to just do a little bit of homework in terms of price, if you want the battery operated or not, and to make sure it works with whichever ecosystem you're going to use.
Thank you.
Sure. In fact, here's the little disc that it records onto. So you can buy extra discs. They're, it's $34 for the discs. All right, so we are just about out of time, so I do need to move into closing quickly here. I think you've all been through this before, so I'm going to go to the closing fairly quickly here. I do want to thank you for joining. Hope you enjoyed the class. And there is a related class, which is the Amazon Alexa Basics class. And we now actually have a Amazon Alexa Intermediate class as well. And we just added a Ring doorbell class. So you may want to look at that class if you're looking at doorbells. That's a little more expensive one, but it's considered by most people to be the Cadillac. So we have a class dedicated to that Ring doorbell. So I'll put links to those in the email that's coming out after class if you want to look at those other classes. But that's a great one if you're thinking about a doorbell to learn about them. I mean, if you decide to go with a different one than the Ring one. Let me go to my closing slides. I'm going to do this quickly because we only got 2 minutes here. But again, after class, you'll get an email. And these are the notes I was talking about. There'll be a notes section at the top of that email, which will have some links to some other websites with more information. I'm going to have links to 2 articles that talk about all these different devices, where it reviews them, provides a lot more information than I was able to provide in the short time we had here. So take a look at those links to those review articles about the devices. I'll also put the links to those related classes in here as well. So if you want to take one or more of those classes, you can just click and go right to that class registration page. There'll be the feedback link. You can click that to bring up our feedback form and rate the class and the guide. Only 2 questions, so it's very quick. And there's a link to view schedule, which will take you to our website where you can book another class. And if you're looking for any of those classes and you want to just search and book them this way, you type in Ring. Here's the Ring Doorbell Basics class, which is going to be this Friday at 2:30 Eastern time. So again, if you're interested in Ring doorbells, that's a good class. Okay, so we are out of time. I do want to thank you for attending. Hope you learned some things about smart homes, and we'll give it a try. It's pretty cheap to get started with them. And hope you have a great evening, and look forward to seeing you in another class soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Wade.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Got a good information.
Great. Thank you. Bye now.
Thank you.